Yeah, good morning out there. I hope all of you can hear me okay. And today, for the most part, seems like it's going okay for me. I have seen some disturbing things and heard some disturbing things out there. And sometimes I wonder why people go to the extent they do to try to tear down other people. And it's almost like a bunch of vultures jumping on a carcass, but leaving that description behind, I don't want to make you sick before lunch, and I assume that a lot of you are probably getting ready for lunch, or at least in half of the country. But, you know, with all the battles back and forth between channels through the video process here, and the name calling and insinuations and stuff, it's getting to the point where it is more of a sickening type thing to watch. And I have seen quite a few people say, goodbye, it's getting too sick, or I'm tired of the drama, or whatever. And that's not just on my channel, okay? It's on other channels as well. And I keep mine, or I try to keep it as mild as I can. I like to keep any four-letter words to a minimum. And I'm not saying that I haven't heard or don't see four-letter words every day. And a matter of fact, most psychiatrists will tell you sometimes when you're utilizing swearing as a form of getting the steam off, that actually your health is improved rather than not. And I believe that physically it probably is. Now, that doesn't enhance your morals in any way. Sometimes you try to find a way to get rid of animosities or frustrations. And I guess the easy avenue is to use words that have very little meaning, if any, in the context that they're spoken. So, even though I like to keep as much of it off my channel as possible, it rarely ends up on here. Some people actually use cuss words in their title of what they're saying. The other day, somebody called me out because I was utilizing some names that aren't their name given at birth, and actually that person calls himself fat and then their name. And I thought, they're saying that to me, and yet they use a word that would be somewhat considered derogatory if you were to use it at somebody. And I informed her that I've never, or at least I don't think I ever called somebody fat out there. And sometimes I guess maybe it does slip out. I don't know. At least I hope I don't. Usually my conscience will take over when I've done, if I get out a haranguing on something. But I happened to see a channel today that attacked a father and their child. And, it's kind of rough to see something like that going on. Now, a lot of them use the excuse that when Jeremy's son came on the internet and expressed his views about his childhood and specifically about his father. And they, right away, the people out here in this YouTube land decided that it was the fault of the people that were making comments about Jeremy. And in fact, that was not the case. And it was not the intention of those people, but his son was looking for a place to express how he felt about how he was raised and what was going on in his opinion of his father. And it's kind of unfortunate when families are fighting with each other. And when you look into the background, you know, there was apparently a divorce involved in there, and there was a protection order that was put against Jeremy that didn't allow him to converse or be around his children while they were growing up. So the law seemed fit to take certain parental rights away from him. Now, as far as me knowing anybody in that family, I know nothing about that family. All I know is what I've seen on here. And it makes your heart bleed, in a manner of speaking, and could make you cry if you get too involved in it. Because children, they're the product of the parent in one way or the other. And we all like to hang our hat on that product if possible. And most of us would protect our children no matter what. It just goes without saying. You know, in fact, you know, Mr. Biden, our president, had said multiple times that he would not pardon his son and from the actions of the court, and yet he did. He did do it before he got out of office. And I don't blame him in the least. And the reason I don't is because I know how I would react to any one of my children facing time in a prison. I would do whatever I could to try to protect them. It's just the way a parent feels. Unless you're a parent, you don't know that feeling, I would say. Now, I realize sometimes there's animosity that build up beyond that. I don't know. And I disciplined all my children when they were young, not to the extent to, I hope it didn't leave a lasting impression of animosity in any way, because I love them all. And in that same context, you know, we all look at our children as the future that we're leaving out there, something that we hopefully have added that would be a positive thing to society. Now, this morning, the show I seen, in a way, had accused, or at least made it seem as if there was people at this table that were gay, thinking that it would be an insult to those people because, in fact, as far as I know, they're heterosexual. They're males. 3 males were sitting there. Now, they say, well, they weren't gay bashing. But I want to warn everybody out there that by using somebody's gender as somewhat of a stick and trying to make fun of them, it is bashing. Now, I don't know whether they're bashing somebody being heterosexual or bashing somebody being gay. Because, quite frankly, the person that was making the accusations or insinuations, okay, just throwing it out there, saying they may be. They act like, okay. And in fact, the father wears a leather hat, and he called that the leather hat as more like a gay decoration, and insinuating that the person that made it and gifted it may very well be in that same category. Now, I've had that type of bashing towards myself, and in fact, one person out there had tried to put my wife in one of those sick rap songs, or whatever you want to call it. Now, I haven't seen it, but I've had multiple people come on my channel and tell me about it. It's an actually attack against my wife, which in fact I feel is part, you know, that's my family. And I realize people that have a channel out here get attacked. And some people want to hurt so bad that they will hurt the people you love the most at every opportunity they get. Now, this particular person has never seen my wife, doesn't know what she looks like, and has no idea of what my wife is like. To me, she's the dearest thing in my life. I've been with her most of my life. In a few more weeks, it will have been 62 years. She means an awful lot to me. Now, this same guy has made insinuations towards a young man, and this young man happened to see him one day and started to walk up to him. And he got out of there as quickly as he could and used a flashing light and flashed it in his eyes till he'd get to his car and take off like a bat out of hell. Okay? So he likes to make insinuations, but he's a coward when it comes down to facing somebody that he has made insinuations towards. In other words, he likes to talk, but he doesn't walk the walk. And he would have you believe he's one of the toughest assholes around. And we all know different. We do. But for somebody like that to attack a person's wife or children or anything like that shows that their basic makeup, what it is. It is sick, very sick. Now, this person would say, well, he wouldn't be worried about me because of my age. I'm kind of glad he feels that way. Now, this thing I seen that to me it was sick, the way the descriptions were going on. And in fact, most of a 2-hour period was spent catcalling this particular person and their means of living, and the attacks were personal. And in fact, in the title, it's not, there's no question about what today's video was going to be about. To me, it would be very, very upsetting. I mean, I can't see why somebody wants to go to that extent. Now, this person that made that attack, in fact, is divorced, has children. And I'm sure he wouldn't want somebody to say anything about his children. And in fact, during this video that he put out, now I haven't looked at the whole thing. I skipped around a little bit, and it was sickening, okay? One of his subscribers had reported to him that in fact, his family was being talked about as they were speaking and being doxxed, his kids and his wife, his ex-wife. And he come unglued immediately, and he's going to add it to his documents for lawsuits, okay? Now, here's a guy that's sitting there with a 2-hour program to attack another father and son and make it very clear about what he was saying was as he was doing it as disrespectful as he could. And in insinuating, he wondered what they were doing under the table and kept bringing the picture back up of these were live shots that were taken probably last night, I'm assuming. I don't know. If you can imagine somebody talking about you, and let's say you were on here, and they start talking about what you're doing with your hands or people around you. And they don't come out and say what they believe. They want you to insinuate that. And of course, in the chat will come up several comments, obviously, so that it's somebody else making the comments. In other words, a creator, and when he goes live like that, and let's say he makes some comments and he lets his minions, people following him, subscribers, make the comments that are derogatory, that actually point at the person. And yet he's the one that brings the subject up so that somebody else will make the mistake of stepping on their tongue and say something that would be libelous, that would put them in a court of law. And these people are very slick about it. So when you are following somebody's channel, and I don't care whether you're in the live or if you make comments down under a channel, you want to be very careful with your words as best you can, because those words can eventually be held against you if it's over and over and over. If they decide to bring a lawsuit against you, you never know what's going to happen. Now, I have people that come on here from other channels, not the creators necessarily, but commenters that try to bring my channel down. And a few of them went to YouTube to try to do the same thing. And one of my videos was taken down. So I'm somewhat aware of how all this goes on. And a lot of them like to insult me, whether it's my age, maybe the way I talk. But when they went after my wife, I thought that was pretty much, that's about as low as you can get. Like I say, they've never met her. She means a lot to me, which is, I realize that people that have went through a divorce or aren't allowed to see their children, or they have a chip on their shoulder, and so they go after other people that seem to have a happy life. Now, it won't change. These things don't change how my wife and I feel about each other. The other day, somebody had accused me of being a mole. I think his name is Tim Fox. He likes to make remarks out there. And yet, he realizes I'm not. I mean, he knows I'm not. But he would like to make a remark like that. Now, how stupid is that? Pretty bad, isn't it? It shows a lack of IQ. But just in case he comes on your channel, I want you to realize this guy, he talks out of his butt and not out of his mouth, so you can imagine what he's spewing out here, okay? Plain shit, isn't it? Yeah, that's what it is. So Mr. Fox, with you thinking I'm something I'm not, what an idiot you are. And I don't mind saying that to you, okay? I'm not going to put much more on here. Main thing is that I wanted everybody out there to realize it is unfair to somebody to use their family against them and make innuendos like what happened this morning. It is so despicable. And part of it is he's trying to incite a reaction from the guy. And the reason being, he knows by going against this guy and using his child. Okay, I want you to think about this. That's his child that this guy is making these insinuations about. How would you feel out there, all of you guys that are followers of different channels, when that's being done? And yet, on every minute right now, just about, 24/7, Mr. Cook, Ms. Preston, and their child undergoing similar types of problems, accusations. And they've been going through it for a couple years now. I don't think it's fair. And in fact, there's a court situation going on. And I think a lot of it, rather than the person that's making the accusations believes in what he's saying, I think it's more of a monetary reward situation that they're looking forward to. And in fact, if you were to look at the channel, you would see that. I have a little thing on my computer here that tells the minimum, maximum amounts the activity on that channel would make. And it would be a nice income for anybody out there. So I have no doubts about why this situation has got out of hand. And there are a lot of other channels that are following suit on it, saying the same thing. And it almost gets wore out. But it gets played out until finally there's not too many that are commenting or looking at it, and so then they bring something fresh up. They'll take something and run it out 3 or 4 days, and then they'll bring up something new and run it out 3 or 4 days. And they trade them back and forth. I mean, as far as who's going to do what and when. I'm just telling you, the scenario and the drama and stuff is not made for information. It's made for money, to make money. One of the reasons I've never monetized this channel is, number one, I haven't needed it. The other thing is, sometimes when you look out there and you see how unfair the scales are for a balance of justice, you have to get up and say something. And you hope that you can say something to the people out here and that they'll look at the whole thing, both sides. And they can say, well, they think both sides have something wrong. Well, there's always 2 or 3 versions of any one story. Theirs and that one and the real one. But when you look at it and it is continual beatdowns and not very unfair, then you have to say it has to stop somewhere. And where that is, I don't know. But if we get to the point where we're inciting somebody to do something physical, which I think this person may be trying to do today, by attacking this man's son, he has thrown a gauntlet down. If you were to listen to it, you would understand what I'm talking about. And it is getting out of hand. It is dangerous. And I think if it was sitting in front of a judge would be upset, very upset. But you never know how a judge is going to feel or how a jury is going to rule. And most of the time, you're better off to settle it without court action, if you can. And a good Christian person usually can sit down to a table and come up with something. It may not be forgiving or forgetting. It may be nothing more than you go your way and I'll go my way. But anything is better than going before a judge, I believe, and making it to the point where it becomes a lifetime of hate that tears both parties apart because it affects your health. People have questioned my Christianity, and they don't know me, and they don't know what my relationship is with our Lord. And I may not know every verse of the Bible, but I know enough about it that it gave me a certain base for morals. And I do my best to run along the Christian laws, if you will. The things that Christ has asked us to do, the things that are in the 10 Commandments. I've been accused of acting like the person that I have brought up information about. And that's unfortunate that they feel that way. But you can only be a fence rider for so long. And you can see one way or the other that maybe one should be held up a little better than the other one. It's not necessarily who wins or loses, but sometimes you want it to end. You can't stay on the fence because you're going to be hated by both sides. You can't do that. And sometimes all you can do is help the one that fell and help them back to their feet so that they can go on with life. I believe that's what Christ would have done in any case, the way I look at it. In my earlier life here on earth, I had went after a person and it affected his family. And I went back and I righted the wrongs the best I could. Not only spiritually, but physically. I went to the family. And our families become very close over the years. And in fact, we had traveled multiple states together. That's how close we were. Yeah, we worked for several companies together. And I can say that we were probably best friends until the day that they had passed away. Both the man and wife passed away. And, I miss them. There was times that I needed help, but they were there. And when they needed help, my wife and I were there as well. Their children were very good children. I don't think they have had a problem with any of them. They went on. During our back and forth, Eventually, they joined the same church that we were in. They were baptized there. The whole family was. They changed. So many things were changed about them, but the biggest change came in the way I looked at other people, and I knew that going after somebody and causing them to reach their lowest denominator that they can in life was absolutely wrong, and it was not their fault. It was my fault for doing it. And in the case of what's going on here, I can see the fallacy of going after somebody and beating them into the earth to where they cannot even crawl away. When you break somebody financially, morally, physically, it is wrong as wrong can be. Well, I hope I haven't bored you too much, and I hope you don't get too upset with how I feel, because it's in my heart. And I don't wish for you to go out and attack anybody because of anything I've said. I think that people need to learn how to accept each other's shortcomings if they have them, okay? Nobody is going to be an example of the life that Christ led. He was the perfect person on our earth. And until the second coming, there will not be a perfect person on our earth. I really feel in my heart that that is coming soon, because I've never seen so many things disrupting in this world in my lifetime. I realized World War II when it went. I was born during World War II, but I didn't actually see what was going on. I seen the aftermath. And in fact, in Europe, I've seen what was left over years later. I was over there, less than 20 years after World War II ended. I was over there in Europe. And yeah, I seen some of the destruction that was still there. I also seen it was a world rebuilt. I hope nothing like that happens in our lifetime. And the things that are happening right now in that little town out there that I'm speaking about, it's almost like a mini war. A lot of people are being hurt. Some of them undeserved of it. They don't deserve to it. They didn't ask to be in it. And they're involved in it just because of where they live. Not because of what they want to be, because it's just where they live. This guy that got attacked today on this channel over a 2-hour period does not deserve the attack he got. He's got a bigger heart, I think, than those other channels put together that have been on the attack all this time, and has done more good and runs a sanctuary. He don't ask for much, and he works 24/7 to see to it that this thing, for the good of our earth, runs on and on and on. I think he has a good family. I think this is a guy that grew not only in stature, but in morals the longer he's lived. And the longer he lives, the closer he is to walking with Christ. That's what I believe in my heart. And that's the way it should be with all of us. The longer we live, the more we learn, the more our morals should come up with us. And the more we understand why those are there. He certainly understands what the Lord has given us as gifts out there, because the sanctuary he's got. He sees what the Lord does on a daily basis, all the time. But to attack him, I think it was discrepable. And the type of person who would do that is just a bad person. That's how I feel about it. It's my opinion. I don't want to give somebody like that my time of day. That's how. It's very sick. Only a sick mind can do that. as far as I'm concerned. So with that, I hope I haven't upset anybody out there, and I don't mean for the drama to, please don't cry over this or anything like that. I would appreciate it if you don't come on the attack either, because we each have opinions of how we feel about the whole situation. But I can tell you today, things like this make it extremely dangerous for all concerned. You can't attack people's family without bringing up very... I can tell you this. If that person that was doing the attack was there in person, he would never said the things he did. I guarantee you he wouldn't. He would not have the balls to do that. But he can be on this thing here and do it. Well, I'd give you my rant and the bitching today and give you my opinion. This whole thing is my opinion. I don't know what yours will be. And whatever it is, search your heart before you give it. And, you know, the Lord gives us a lot of things. He's never given us an incentive to beat on people like that. He's never asked us to do that kind of a destruction to the people that have the Christ in their heart. They're God, living people for the Lord. That's all I got today. Oh, Lord. Just please help everybody out there that needs that help. Let's get on the right path. I would ask you not to get too destructive in my channel today. I'm not really in the mood to see somebody that is full of hate. Today's just not one of them that I want to see it. But for all you that believe in the same way I do, go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you want. You can subscribe if you want. I know the other day I've explained to you that subscribing is better than being a subject. The subject does what a creator is asking him to do. The creator I'm talking about is people that are creating these videos out here, whether it be myself or anybody else. But I don't want to subject you to doing something for me in any way. You are subscribing, you're not a subject. Others want you to be a subject. They want you to do their bidding. Be careful of the path that you follow. My advice is be a subscriber only. Don't take it further than that. Don't do the bidding of somebody out there that has a channel out there that asks you to do something you shouldn't. You have to use your moral values. Anyway, other than that, I'm going to let you go. And you have plenty of weekend left. And what does John say? Ta-ta. And I like to say sayonara. Goodbye.